The Monkey's Paw by W. W. Jacobs. Part 1. Outside the night was cold and wet, but inside the house the fire burned brightly. Father and son played chess, while the mother knitted contently. "I don't think you will come tonight," said Mr. White. "We live too far out, and the weather is awful." But then the gate opened, and heavy footsteps came toward the door. Mr. White opened the door and greeted a tall man with a reddish face. He introduced Sergeant Major Morris to his family. They listened eagerly as a visitor from distant parts spoke of wild scenes and brave deeds, of wars and diseases and strange peoples. 21 years of it," said Mr. White to his wife and son. "When he went away he was a young man. Now look at him. I'd like to go to India myself." "Better where you are," said the sergeant major. "I should like to see those old tempers and holy men," said the old man. "What was that you told me yesterday about a monkey's paw?" "Nothing," said the soldier quickly. "Monkey's paw?" said Mrs. White. "Well, it's just a bit of what you might call magic, perhaps," said the sergeant major. His three listeners leaned forward eagerly. "To look at," said the sergeant major, "it's just an ordinary little paw, dried to a mummy." He took something out of his pocket and held it out. Mrs. White drew back with a grimace. "And what is special about it?" asked Mr. White. "An old holy man put a spell on it," said the sergeant major. "He wanted to show that fate ruled people's lives. Those who interfered with fate and tried to change what would happen did so to their sorrow. He put a spell on it so that 3 men could each have 3 wishes from it." His manner was so serious that the listeners thought their light laughter seemed out of place. "Well, why don't you make 3 wishes, sir?" said young Herbert cleverly. "I have," Morris said quietly, and his reddish face turned white. "And did you really have the 3 wishes granted?" asked Mrs. White. "I did," said the sergeant major. "And has anybody else wished?" the old lady asked. "The first man had his 3 wishes, yes. I don't know what the first 2 were, but the third was for death. That's how I got the paw." He sounded so grave that for a few moments no one spoke. "If you've had your 3 wishes, then it's no good to you now, Morris," said the old man at last. "What do you keep it for?" "Just because I want to, I suppose," he said. "I did think of selling it, but I don't think I will. It has caused enough trouble already. Besides, people won't buy it. Some think of the story of the wishes as a fairy tale. Those who think it might be real want to try it first and pay me afterward." "Would you make 3 more wishes if you could?" asked the old man. I don't know. He picked up the paw and then suddenly threw it upon the fire. Mr. White bent down and snatched it off. "Better let it burn," said the soldier solemnly. "If you don't want it, Morris, give it to me." "I won't," said his friend. "I threw it on the fire. If you keep it, don't blame me for what happens. Throw it back on the fire again like a sensible man." Mr. White shook his head. "How do you make the wishes?" "Hold it up in your right hand and wish aloud," said the sergeant major. "But I warn you of the consequences." Mr. White pulled the paw out of his pocket. All 3 of the Whites burst into laughter as the sergeant major, with a look of alarm on his face, caught him by the arm. "If you must wish, wish for something sensible." Mr. White put the paw back in his pocket. Later, after their guest had gone, Herbert said, "If the tale about the monkey's paw is no more true than the other stories he told us, we won't get much out of it." Mr. White took the paw from his pocket and eyed it doubtfully. "I don't know what to wish for, and that's a fact. It seems to me I've got all I want." "If you could pay off what we owe on the house, you'd be quite happy, wouldn't you?" said Herbert. "Well, wish for £200. His father, smiling and embarrassed at his own credulity, held up the paw. Herbert winked at his mother. "I wish for 200 pounds, said Mr. White. Then he gave a horrified cry. It moved! As I made the wish, it twisted in my hand like a snake. Well, I don't see the money, said Herbert, and I bet I never shall. It must be your imagination, father, said his wife, looking at him anxiously. Mr. White shook his head. Never mind, though. There's no harm done, but it gave me a shock all the same. They sat down by the fire again. Outside, the wind was louder than ever, and the old man jumped at the sound of a door banging upstairs. A silence that was both unusual and depressing settled upon all three, and it lasted until the old couple went to bed. I expect you'll find the cash in a big bag in the middle of your bed, said Herbert as he wished them good night. Herbert sat alone in the darkness, gazing at the dying fire and seeing faces in it. The last face was so horrible and so like a monkey's it amazed him. It seemed so real that with an uneasy little laugh, Herbert reached for a glass of water from the table to throw on it. Instead, his hands grasped the monkey's paw. With a little shiver, he wiped his hand on his coat and went up to bed. Part 2. The next morning, the sunlight streamed into the same room Herbert had sat in last night. He laughed at his fears. The room now looked ordinary. The dirty, shriveled little paw had been thrown aside carelessly, as if no one took it seriously. The idea of our listening to such nonsense! How could wishes be granted in these days? And if they could, how could 200 pounds hurt you? Said Mrs. White. Might drop on his head from the sky, Herbert joked. Well, don't start spending the money before I come back from work. His mother laughed. She watched him leave and go down the road. Herbert will make more jokes about this when he comes home, she said as they sat down to dinner later that night. I dare say, said Mr. White, but the paw moved in my hand. That I'll swear to. You thought it did, said the old lady soothingly. I say it did. What's the matter? His wife did not answer. She was watching a well-dressed man outside who was trying to make up his mind to enter their gate. He paused 3 times. Finally, he came through the gate and knocked at the door. She brought the stranger, who seemed ill at ease, into the room. He was strangely silent at first. I was asked to call. I come from Ma and Megan's. Is anything the matter? Mrs. White asked breathlessly. Has anything happened to Herbert? What is it? What is it? You've not brought bad news, I'm sure, sir, said Mr. White. I'm sorry, began the visitor. Is he hurt? Demanded the mother wildly. The visitor nodded. Badly hurt, he said quietly, but he is not in any pain. Oh, said the old woman, thank goodness for that, She broke off suddenly, as the terrible meaning of what he had said dawned upon her. She saw the awful truth as the man looked away from her. She laid her trembling old hand upon her husband's. He was caught in the machinery, said the visitor finally in a low voice. Caught in the machinery, repeated Mr. White in a dazed fashion. Yes. He sat staring blankly out the window, pressing his wife's hand between his own. He was the only child we had left, he said. It is hard. The man said, The company wished me to convey their sincere sympathy for your loss. I beg you to understand I am only obeying their orders. Mr. and Mrs. White were silent. They were in shock. Ma and Megan's will take no responsibility for the accident, continued the other, but they wish to present you with a certain sum of compensation. Mr. White gazed in horror at his visitor. He asked, How much? 200 pounds, was the answer. He did not hear his wife shriek. Mr. White had fainted. Part 3. They buried their son, dead, 2 miles away in the cemetery, and returned to a dark, silent house. As the days passed, they hardly spoke, for now they had nothing to talk about. Their days were long to weariness. About a week after, the old man was woken by a sudden cry from his wife. "The paw!" she cried wildly. "The monkey's paw!" He started up in alarm. "What's the matter?" "I want it." "You didn't destroy it," she said quietly. "It's downstairs," he replied, amazed. "Why?" Mrs. White cried and laughed at the same time. "Why didn't we think of it before? The other 2 wishes! We've only used 1. "Was 1 not enough?" Mr. White demanded fiercely. "No, we'll have 1 more. Go down and get it quickly, and wish our boy alive again." "You are crazy," he cried. "Get it quickly and wish. Oh, my boy, my boy! We had the first wish granted. Why not the second?" "It happened by chance," stammered the old man. "Go and get it and wish," cried his wife. The paw was in its place downstairs. He felt a horrible fear that the unspoken wish might make his mutilated son appear before him. He returned to his wife with the unwholesome thing in his hand. His wife's face looked different, white, hopeful. She looked unnatural. He was afraid of her. "Wish!" she cried. "It is foolish and wicked," he said. "Wish!" repeated his wife. He raised his hand. "I wish my son alive again." The paw fell to the floor, and Mr. White sank trembling into a chair. His wife looked out the window. They waited. The candle had burned almost all the way down. It threw moving shadows on the ceiling and walls until it suddenly went out. The old man was deeply relieved at the failure of the monkey's paw. He and his wife went back to bed. They lay silently listening to the ticking of the clock. A stair creaked, and a squeaking mouse scurried noiselessly behind the wall. Mr. White finally lit a match and went downstairs for another candle. At the foot of the stairs the match went out, and he paused to strike another. At the same moment he heard a low, soft knock at the front door. He stood motionless, holding his breath, until the knock was repeated. Then he ran back to the bedroom and closed the door. A third knock sounded through the house. "What's that?" cried the old woman. Another loud knock echoed through the house. "It's Herbert!" she screamed. "It's Herbert!" She ran to the door, but her husband got there first. Catching her by the arm, he held her tightly. "What are you going to do?" "It's my boy, it's Herbert," she cried, struggling in his arms. "I forgot the cemetery is 2 miles away. Let go, I must open the door." "Don't let it in," cried the old man, trembling. "You are afraid of your own son?" she cried, struggling. "Let me go, I'm coming, Herbert." The old woman suddenly broke free and ran from the room. He heard her trying to open the lock on the door downstairs. "The lock!" she cried loudly. "Come down, I can't reach it." But her husband was searching wildly on the floor for the paw. If he could only find it before the thing outside got in. He heard more knocking. He heard his wife climb on a chair to reach the lock. He heard its creak as he pulled it back. At the same moment he found the monkey's paw and frantically breathed his third and last wish. The knocking suddenly stopped. He heard her open the door. A cold wind rushed up the staircase, and a long, loud wail of disappointment and misery from his wife made him run out to the gate. The street lamp across from their house